What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Shay Renee. Did you miss me? Just when I think sisters can't get any worse, it does. Okay. So, y'all, we're going to do a little quick recap, if you will. So, the episode starts off where Andy is getting accosted in a parking garage, but she suddenly gets a call from Fatima to hurry up and come to the hospital because Karen may be in labor. But then we go to a scene where Fatima and Zach are in the house and Karen is in the house, not in labor. They're going back and forth in a conversation where Karen showed up at their house yet again. And it's because Zach has been texting her over and over again about the babies. They're going back and forth about custody. Who gonna see the baby? How many times they gonna see the baby when the babies come out? It's just too much. But she's not in labor. So the editing skills on this show are trash. Because this scene should have clearly been placed after Karen went into the hospital. Did anybody pick up on that? Because why is Andy being accosted in the parking lot by a man that clearly doesn't know how to follow people correctly? So if this is supposed to be the proclaimed man, the guy of the firm that's supposed to be tracking people down, he not doing a good job, and he need a pay cut. So Andy pepper sprays him and beats him up. And he says Robin told him to follow her. So, if anything, you know that she sees that you're following her. You're chasing her around a pole. You should have immediately announced yourself and said who you were and let her know, hey, I'm just trying to protect you because Robin said so. This is all very dumb and very stupid, okay? So, let's get to the beginning. So, Danny. She's in her apartment having a panic attack. She calls Krisha, her therapist. So the therapist calls 911. So she's telling her to take a deep breath and they have a conversation. Krisha's asking her a series of questions in the midst of a panic attack instead of focusing on the breathing. And they realize that the panic attack is onset because of back and forth she had with Tony. Mind you, Danny, you invited Tony over. You buttered up your coup for him. Okay? You are the one that tried to pounce on him like a panda. And then you throw flowers at the back of his head. Danny, you don't know what you want. And I'm very confused and I'm sick of it. Moving on. So then we have Rich and Sabrina that are playing love and basketball. Scene 5. And in the midst of their playing love and basketball, somebody calls and says that that Rich needs to come down to the sperm bank because something is wrong with his swimmers. So now he's all stuck in a tizzy because he doesn't know what's happening. Mind you, Rich, you don't want to do this in the first place, but now that we're finding that there's a problem, you're having a little attitude. So Krisha calls Sabrina because, of course, Danny tells Krisha to call Sabrina because those two are close, and Karen and Andy are close. So she calls her friend Sabrina. Calls Sabrina. Sabrina's on the phone. She's talking to Krisha. And in the background, Rich decides that he wants to call Tony because obviously it's Danny. So he's trying to make sure that Tony is aware of what's going on with his girl, Danny. So Sabrina gets off the phone with Krisha. And her and Rich decide to skip to Malou, my darling, over to Danny's house. They get to Danny's house. Here comes Tony coming in like a ram, busting past everybody. And he's like, oh my God, are you okay? So then all of a sudden, Danny commences to having a panic attack again. After Krisha is gone, the paramedics have left at this point because they've checked her vitals and realized she wasn't having a heart attack. She's just having a panic attack. They're gone, but Sabrina and Tony are there. Sabrina, Rich, and Tony are there. And Tony is sending her into a rage, so she tells him to get out. So now Rich is looking crazy because he's like, I didn't know that calling him here was going to cause all these problems. So then they end up leaving, going to a bar to have a drink, and all of a sudden Rich is completely changed from the love and basketball outfit. When did he go take a shower to put on this nice shirt? Interesting. The editing is really bad. It's really bad. So Sabrina and Danny are having a conversation. They're talking about, how Tony, she's tired of Tony not respecting her boundaries. First of all, Danny, what boundaries are you talking about? Danny is just, I can't stand her. You don't know what you want. You have this man come over. You decided that you didn't want to take a puff puff and a shot like you normally do. And you decided mid boner that you did not want to give it up. So you're playing with this man's emotions. You're doing what we would call the most, okay? So now you're going to blame it on the fact that he's not respecting your boundaries. Is it that he's not respecting your boundaries, or you're crazy and he doesn't know what to do with you? So back at the bar, Rich and Tony are having a conversation. Rich reveals to Tony what's going on with his swimmers. And Tony basically is saying that he is having problems with Danny. He don't understand what's going on. Rich says, you like dealing with fiery women. And Tony confirms it. He's like, yeah, ex-military wife. Now I'm dealing with this girl. I don't know what's going on. He's like, Rich tells Tony, you need to just kind of let her chill, let her deal with her problems on her own. But much like Sabrina said to Danny, if he didn't come over here, you would have had a problem. So now that he's come over here, you're having a problem. So I don't know what Tony should do. I do know what Tony should do. He should leave Danny alone because it's not worth it. She's not worth it. Moving on. And move on, Tony. Okay? So back at the hospital, Hayden goes up to the hospital and he has this pillow perfectly placed, ready to go ahead and smother the lights out of Gary. But of course, Hudson walks in and Hudson says, Gary is highly sedated. You need to leave him alone. And Hudson's like, wait a minute, after Hayden has realized that Gary doesn't remember him because he's coming in there to have a conversation with Gary. And once Gary wakes up mid-pillow slam and smothering, he pretends that he's adjusting the pillow behind Gary's head. And he has a quick conversation with him about whether he remembers him, Tamara, the situation. Once he assesses that Gary is none the wiser, that's when Hudson comes in. So now Hudson's saying Gary is sedated and he doesn't know what's going on and he needs to stay sedated. So I guess Hudson was coming in to put some more stuff in the IV to keep Gary asleep. Because Hudson might not want people to know that he the one that probably did this. I'm just saying, I think Hudson did it. I'm just gonna tell y'all right now. Hudson is the culprit, okay? So moving on. Robin has a discussion with Andy before she pulls off to go and check on Karen that's not in the hospital yet at this point. And she's upset with Robin because he's denouncing her or rescinding the offer rather for her to be the managing partner. So Andy is upset with him. She's telling him don't have nobody following her. She'll be just fine. Basically, Robin, she done fired him as her lawyer. He is off the case. Robin/Chase is off the case, okay? Andy is sick of Robin. So she speeds off to the hospital that Karen is not in yet. Moving on. Back at Fatima and Zach's house. I'm about to say DeVal. Karen is there going back and forth, and in the midst of the conversation, it comes out that Fatima is pregnant, okay? So Karen begins to go and have these Braxton Hicks. They take her to the hospital. While they're in the hospital, Fatima convinces Zach to call Aaron. So Zach calls Aaron to tell him what's going on with Karen. She's in the hospital. But while she's in, then Zach is out here eating Takis and drinking Coca-Cola because he's panicking over what's going on. But Karen is actually fine. She comes out in a wheelchair. Then here comes Aaron bolstering in there, starting a whole bunch of mess. Then they say Fatima called Aaron. Are y'all paying attention to the stuff that y'all writing? Zach called Aaron, not Fatima. Karen is fine, but Aaron goes off on Zach, starting to act like a petulant child. The doctor comes out and says this is exactly what's causing her the stress for the Braxton Hicks. She doesn't need this. So Aaron, why are you sitting up here trying to fight and argue with Zach in the middle of the hospital? Y'all comment down below what's going on with this show because it's just going to heck in a handbasket. I'm really getting tired of the poor writing, the poor editing, the poor acting, the poor dialogue. The stories are not moving along. And child, how much longer is Karen going to be pregnant? Because I'm Baby, Mama the Lord is tired, and so am I. Comment down below, y'all. What are y'all thinking? Should we even keep watching this show? Because it's getting ridiculous. I'm just saying. A hot mess. Period.